Hello, everyone, and welcome to our last unit of econ. So this is unit 7, and it's all about macroeconomics. So this entire class, so there's two different kinds of economics, and this is how college has it split. I had to take, when I was in college, I took a hybrid macro class and a hybrid micro class. So first you take micro, then you take macro, because the whole idea here is microeconomics looks at all of the little things that go into the macro. So it's all the little details. So we've looked at supply and demand, we've looked at the roles that government has, we've looked at the different markets there are, so on and so forth. And all of those things in micro goes into what makes up the macroeconomics. Goes into what makes up macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is the big picture. It is the everything put together to make sense of the economy. So in order to get macro, you have to know how to calculate the microeconomics, which is what we've done the entire time before this. So we're going to get into macroeconomics now. And it is putting everything together, which means it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to try my best to explain this to you. But let's go. So GDP, gross domestic product, is the total in the US, the final goods and services. Final goods and services. This is only finished products that have hit the market that have been sold brand new. These are not counting if you were to go to the garage sale down the street and buy a t-shirt for $1, that does not get counted into the GDP. However, if you are to go to Target and buy a $15 shirt from Target, that is counted in the GDP because it is a final product sold for just the first time for final use. They assume that once somebody buys that shirt from Target, it is the final use of that product, and that's just what it is. They don't assume that it's going to go any further, that it's going to get used again, so on and so forth. It's out of the government's hands, it's out of the economy's hands, and that's just where we're at. Okay? So you're not going to have to calculate GDP. At least I don't think you will have to. No, you shouldn't have to. That's way too much work. So you're just gonna have to know though the equation, because I'm pretty positive a question will come up that asks you about the equation, and you'll need to be able to tell that it is a GDP equation. So the GDP equation is C plus I plus G plus NX. Those stand for C is the household consumption. How much are households consuming, spending on products? The I is business investment. How much is a business investing? G is for the government purchases. What's the government doing to help the economy? And then the plus and X is the net exports, which actually is a negative number. So you could write it as plus and then a negative number, or you could just write it as minus. It's up to you. I've seen it done both ways. And then you have next net exports. Whatever we send out of the country that doesn't get sold in our country counts as net exports and does not count towards the GDP. So take all those numbers, add them, subtract them, and you get the gross domestic product amount. Okay, so we have inflation. Inflation is, this might get you a little bit. So inflation is when we have an increase in prices, not in production. We're not making more of a product. The price is simply going up. Well, why is the price going up? Because the value of the dollar is decreasing. Now I get it. You're like, if the value of the dollar is decreasing, how can we be inflating? Because if the value of the dollar is decreasing, that means that more people have more money to spend. That means that their money is worth more to them at the prices that the products are at. Demand would increase too much to the point that it would cause major scarcity and underproduction. And the whole goal here is to keep the equilibrium happy for suppliers and for consumers. And so what happens is then we have to increase prices to keep up with the decrease in the dollar value. I'm trying to think of an example that won't be confusing and that I won't screw up because I don't want to confuse you. I'm not going to say an example because I don't want to confuse you. So I'm just going to move on. If you need to rewatch that, if you need to Google it and like watch a video on inflation to go a little bit more in depth, you do you. I don't want to keep talking because I've heard that if I keep talking and give examples, it confuses people even more. So I'm just going to move on. Calculating the rate of inflation. Honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't believe that you're going to have to calculate the rate of inflation because I never have. So I would not worry about this. This is way too advanced. But just know that price index is the CPI because I'm sure that'll come up on a test with the definitions or vocabulary, whatever. But this is all very like in depth. It's crazy. Okay. Nominal GDP is the current prices if change inflation is no longer accurate. So, okay, this is the easiest way to explain this to you. Sorry, I'm shifting my weight. So this is the easiest way to explain this to you. Nominal GDP is not an increase in the amount of products offered to consumers. Nominal GDP is a simple change in the price. So it means it looks really good. It looks like our GDP is increasing based on the amount of money that's rolling in, but it's not an increase in products. It's just an increase in the value due to inflation. It's just an increase in the price. Okay? And then real GDP is taking into account an actual increase in the product itself. So in this little thing here, it's showing you that the prices aren't changing. From year 1 to year 2, the prices don't change, but the quantity of apples goes up. That's exactly real GDP because the actual quantity, actual product of apple is increasing, not the prices. Whereas with nominal, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back really quick. With nominal, you can see right here, the prices are increasing. It says the quantity is increasing, but the price also has a really big effect on that quantity number. So that's as deep as I'm going with real and nominal GDP because I'm not going to lie to you, it's super, super confusing. But nominal GDP has to do with inflation and the price going up, not the actual product, and real GDP has to do with the actual product. Nominal GDP is used within quarters in a year, so it's used to compare the first however many months of a year, the next however many months of a year to the first months, so on and so forth. Whereas real GDP is used to compare actual years. And it's the number that gets, produced and comes out to show the GDP for a year. Okay, unemployment. I'm not going to lie to you. We watched such a fun video in economics when we learn about unemployment. It's this video right here called the Unemployment Game Show. 10 out of 10 recommend watching this. You might start it and be like, this is really dumb, but it is so good. It explains unemployment so perfectly. I wish I could show you. Go watch this video on the econ website. Please, 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 please. It is so good and it's necessary. Essentially what the video is going to teach you, if you really are like, I'm not watching that, is, okay, unemployment is not as simple as you think it might be. Unemployment is not as simple as you think it might be. Well, I'm not working, so I'm unemployed. No, that's not how it works. So, to be counted even in the labor force, you must be 16 years of age or older. you must be an actual citizen and you must not be in jail or institutionalized. Okay? Like in the hospital, so on and so forth. And you had to have worked at least 1 hour the past week. So if you're 16, not institutionalized, but you've never worked in your life, you are not counted as being in the labor force because you haven't worked. Even though you're 16, even though you could get a job, you've never worked in your life, so you're not counted as part of the labor force because you haven't joined it yet. Okay. To be considered unemployed, yes, there is an actual list of how you have to be considered unemployed. So you must meet the labor force criteria, and you must currently have no job, but you must be actively looking for a job. So if you are somebody who got laid off at work and you have lost complete, you're like, I don't even want to look for a job right now. I'm so stressed. I'm just so sad. And you're not even looking for a job. You are not considered unemployed to the US government. And you are not included in the unemployment number. What I am saying is that if everybody who was actually unemployed, the people were counted who do not meet the unemployment criteria, our unemployment number would skyrocket. It would be so high and it would freak people out. So in order to be considered unemployed, you must be actively looking for a job. Okay? In the video that you can either watch below or you can just listen to me, I guess, there is an older gentleman in the video who says, well, I'm however many years old, I retired, but then I wanted to go and get another job just to keep me busy for the week. And they can only give me 4 hours of work a week. He's considered employed because he's working 4 hours a week. Can you live on 4 hours a week? No. 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 At Home Depot? Girl, no. But they're considered employed. They're in the labor force. They're not unemployed. You don't count for unemployment. Now, with everything happening in the economy right now and everything happening in the world right now due to our lovely friend Rona, these are a little different. I'm not getting into details because that is a whole lot of confusion. So this is the main stuff you need to know for 7.1, talking about macroeconomics. So this is just the general gist of macroeconomics. We do get into some of this a little bit more in depth coming up here, but hope that makes sense. Let me know. Okay, bye.